Now, we're remembering one of our beloved This Morning family members today, 19-year-old Matthew Locke. Matthew first appeared on the show back in 2020 and charmed the pants off us with his enthusiasm and love for gadgets. We often had him review everything from vacuum cleaners to phone cases.
Yeah, however, just over a year ago, Matthew tragically took his own life. And his parents, Richard and Christine, have since been campaigning to raise awareness about ADHD and the increased suicide risks that come with that. Welcome, Christine and Richard. Thank you so much for joining us. We absolutely adored your boy. We loved him, didn't we?
He just had this passion and enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And he had funny bones, he was kind, he was caring.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't get to meet him an awful lot, like we only met him a few times, but he was a breath of fresh air when he came into the studio.
A real character.
Yeah, and he loved coming in.
Did he?
This was his passion.
Yeah.
And he loved his vacuum
vacuum
cleaners, didn't he? He loved them vacuum cleaners.
Yeah.
He was so passionate.
Oh, yeah.
Where did this all start? Tell us a little bit about him.
Well, it was sort of from an early age. He actually started to sort of pick up and just love the things. And then he actually started to repair them. And that sort of grew. And he had an incredible ability just to find what the problem was and fix it. A young engineer in the making.
Yeah.
And it grew and grew. And he ended up with his collection of over 100 vacuums. And his social media then grew and the story sort of got out there.
And his passion was unbounding as well. He was so politically engaged, wasn't he, as a councillor? And I know that he met many politicians. So,
that's right.
You know, he just had the rest of his life ahead of him.
He was so loving as well. Like, he used to pick up litter, didn't he? He'd go out and he'd pick up litter.
He would help anyone. He would talk to everybody in the community, young, old. He was caring, sensitive. But that can sometimes be an ADHD trait, that you can be overly sensitive.
Yeah.
Basically, emotional dysregulation can come into it.
He was diagnosed with autism at 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the time, the signs of ADHD were missed. But I suppose, from your point of view, when you have that diagnosis, you go, well, in many ways, great, because that's what we get. That's what we have to work.
That's
with,
exactly what we thought. Yeah, we thought, OK, so that's why Matthew hyper-focuses on maybe one
thing.
He's
functioning, he's great, he's got a great world, great life.
He'd gone through school and was doing all right, he was getting through, and he'd gone to, or he's going to university. I remember Chris coming into the bedroom one night and go, how's Matthew going to cope? I think he's got ADHD, there's more behind this. And we then pursued a diagnosis, and he did eventually get diagnosed at 19, but it had been missed from the age of 14 right the way through to 18, 19.
On reflection now, looking back, can you see that all the traits of ADHD? What were those traits that you noticed? And when you look back now, you think, it was like so obvious.
Lack of focus, inattention to things he wasn't interested in. Disorganisation, everything last minute, if he wanted to do something, I'll do it now. You know, we couldn't say, well, I'll tell you what, should we do that tomorrow? Should we plan? No, I'll do it now, I've got to do it now. And then different focuses. He'd have a hobby and then love that for a while, and then that was it. I'm finished with that. I like doing this now. But he was very sociable, so the autism side, I thought, well, perhaps he's perhaps this is ADHD as well, but we didn't realise that the two can coexist. We didn't realise that.
And I imagine that
typically about 80% of people with autism have ADHD as well. It's a co-occurring thing. From the diagnosis that Matthew got, surely they should have looked into that as well.
And what you're saying, I'm sure, resonates with so many viewers at home, whether it's their families or themselves. I listen, you know, you're listing off those character traits, and I was like, I'm a bit like that.
Well,
so you don't think about it, right? Exactly.
But it's when it impacts you. It's when it's persistent and it's showing up in school. You may be having problems. The teacher may be saying, we're having a problem with this young boy, young girl. They're not concentrating. And of course, it does present differently with girls. Girls mask, as we all know. But if this isn't identified early enough, then these layers of self-esteem get battered, and the child won't understand, well, why do I feel like this? Why can't I learn like X, Y, and Z, my peers?
Yeah.
So ADHD is a brilliant thing. It's a superpower.
And the craziest thing, like, adults are 3 times more likely to use drugs.
Yeah.
They'll have a drug issue,
or
disorder,
alcohol.
well, alcohol, something
yeah.
like that. And our Matthew did struggle with that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, within
From the age
ADHD,
of about 17.
about 50% of people find some form of addiction, whether that be gambling, whether that be drugs, whether that be alcohol, social media. All of those things play into that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people we've come across, you know, are struggling in that area, but actually just don't know that it's linked to ADHD. Yeah. There's some work being done by Dr. Peter Mason, who's done a research into treating people for ADHD who have got opiates and other drug misuse. Pretty much all of those people that he treated for ADHD came off the drugs.
Or lessened it.
So it's incredibly powerful. And if people can get that understanding and treatment early, then it's not going to affect their lives long term.
As you were just saying there, guys, you know, it can come in so many different ways. Yeah. And I'm sure the last thing you want to do today is scare anyone at home.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, you've been working with parts of the NHS ADHD task force. Can you tell us what that involves?
Yeah, on the back of working with ADHD UK, we did a conference, a global conference, explaining Matthew's story. And there are risks associated with ADHD, but yeah, equally there's a powerful story behind it if it's managed properly.
Yeah.
So we were then asked to join the task force, which is a collection of leading experts, doctors, and also experts by experience, which we're classed as. And we're hopefully coming up with some recommendations
from
to
our
take this
point of
forward.
view, our experience.
What would be those, do you think? Just, I mean, obviously you're not there yet, but like, just top of your head, what do you think
we
really
need
need to
earlier.
change?
We need earlier diagnosis. We need earlier screening when a child, as young as possible, because if they're going into secondary years and they've struggled in primary, they're only going to struggle more in secondary years. And that's when you've got to be organised. Peer pressure increases, and these kids want to fit in if they're really impacted by it. So you can be a risk taker with ADHD too, due to the impulsivity symptom. And kids will want to be accepted. So there's higher risk-taking behaviours that they'll take just to fit in. So that could be, OK, I'll try that drug. OK, I'll be the one who jumps off that third step where nobody else will. So interestingly, if it really is impacting, and as we're saying, we don't want to scare anybody, of course, Matthew, that made Matthew who he was. And I can tell you this, there's no way that he wanted to do what he did. However, the impulsivity and the lack of being able, with executive function, to stop, think of the consequence, he's followed that through. And that is what we can try and pull back. If somebody knows they do have an impulsive nature, and whether that's associated with ADHD, there are strategies to use resources to be able to stop, think, reflect and wait.
Well, listen, anything we can do to help in the future, please just come back, talk about it.
Thank you.
Whatever you need, we're here. He was a cherished member of our family, and by extension you are. And the way you've spoken today...
He would be so proud of what you're doing as well. And you've changed the website for the NHS.
We've got that change. And, you know, all we can do is hope we can make a difference in Matthew's name and change the outcome.
He would want to be here. There's no way.
He'd love this.
There's too many stories where children have taken their own life and they've been struggling with ADHD and struggling to get an assessment or referral. So we just need to educate ourselves. Thank you.
Richard, thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, listen, if you have been affected by any of the issues discussed, help and guidance is available on our This Morning website.
Thank you so much for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every single day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the morning.